Hi everyone, this is part 2 of the Metacharacters in REGEX regular expressions for Google Sheets. Okay, let me just go over quickly what we covered before. We had the other metacharacters that we covered, which were the dot, the pipe, and the backslash. You know, I've done the backslash before, and it's very easy to remember, as it is just basically, they call it a literal. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the next three, which are the plus, the question mark, and the asterisk. Now, let me go over this. Let me just pre-warn you, because this is kind of confusing for somebody who may not, even for those who probably are familiar with it, it's still confusing, but for those who may not have ever seen anything regarding regular expressions, it can be confusing. So let me start with the asterisk. The asterisk means 0 or more occurrences of a preceding character or group of characters. 0 or more. Now, question mark is 0 or 1 occurrences of the preceding character or groups. 0 or 1. And this one is 1 or more. The plus is 1 or more occurrences of the preceding characters or groups, or group of characters. So we have 0 or more, 0 or 1, 1 or more. Now you may be asking yourself, well, why am I going to need all these? Or why are these all? They kind of sound like they're overlapping. Well, the answer to it is basically flexibility. If you're trying to find a certain kind of pattern, you're going to need this kind of flexibility in your expressions to get the most out of your regular expressions. Your regular expression functions and formulas. But let's go over a couple of quick demonstrations for each to show you what that means. Okay. Now I have here the plus notation, so it's going to be GO plus D. So we're going to see how this works out as far as whether it comes up as true or false. Okay, it's already true because remember, plus means 1 or more. And as we can see, the preceding in the formula, the preceding character is an O. And so the next O is 1, or actually the next O is either occurring or it doesn't occur. So in case the fact that it does occur makes this a true statement. Now when we go down here, we also see there's a true statement because it is 1 or more. Now let's go down to this one. In this case, it's a false because it is not 1 or more does not mean a 0 occurrence. Okay, so again, the O is good because it's 1 or more. Or good is good, is 1 or more. God is good because it's 1 or more. But GD is false because it is it does not fall into the 1 or more category. Alright, now let's go into the question mark. So we got the same thing, but we just substituted it for the question mark, and we already see that it is going to be false. Remember, 0 or 1. So 0 or 1. So it will not cover, because of course this occurrence of the O is a second occurrence that falls out of 0 or 1. In this case, we're going to have true because it falls under the 0 or 1 rule. And of course this one's going to be true because it is 0 of the 0 or 1 rule. I think that if anything, the question mark is probably the easiest to learn because it's basically just either it occurs or it doesn't. Once or not at all. Alright, now let's try the asterisk. Okay? Remember, the asterisk means 0 or more. So this one's obviously much broader. So all of these should be true. Oops. Because they fall under the 0 or more parameters that we've established here. Excuse me, I've got a... of course I did. Okay, so let's go ahead and drop those down. Great. So remember, plus 1 or more. So if you have something like good, it's true, God, it's true, and GD, it's false. Okay? Now the question mark, as I said, is 0 or 1. It can either be 0 or 1. That's it. So it makes it much easier to understand, or actually to even work into an expression if you have that understanding of it. It's either going to be good is going to be false because it falls out of the 0 or 1 because it does have 2 O's. God is going to be true because it only has 1 O and that falls into 0 or 1. And then GD, of course, is the 0 in 0 or 1. Now the asterisk is where they're all true because the asterisk is the broadest of them all, where it's either 0 occurrence or any number after that. So if you have something where somebody's going out good for like 50 O's, it is good with that. So you can understand why you would need, for something that broad, it's good, but if you need to get more specific, then you would actually need to combine all of these, or at least a couple of these, into your regular expressions to make sure it covers whatever it is, whatever pattern you're trying to find. Okay, now the next one is going to be, let's take a look at another way to use the plus sign, and this is something that I have experienced myself. Okay, suppose that you have a requirement within your company that you want usernames to have, or even passwords, to have alphanumeric characteristics. That means they need to be both a name and a number. I actually would lean more towards the passwords on this, but anyway. So what we want to do here is we want to make sure that the numbers that they're putting in, or the information they're putting in, it is validated and adheres to this rule. So what we have here is we have the regex match going to A5. I had to change that because it was going to A1. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this because this should be true. So it does have that characteristic. So then what would happen if we go ahead and we chose, let's see, 1, 2, 3 user? It would still be true. Now if we chose user, it would still be true because when you take a look at the actual formula itself, it says anything after that. So there is a way to make it a little bit more strict for that. And we can actually just impose, we can add, let's see, we can add 0 to 9 to that. And I'll go over this particular notation later, but now we say that it's false. So we've actually just corrected it so that we made sure that it's both uppercase, lowercase, and 0 through 9. Now, let me take that out and show you something else. Let me take this out for a minute. Okay, we've agreed this is false. I'm sorry, this is true. And if we had 1, 2, 3, it would still be true. Now, funny thing is that if we have just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that would come up as a value. And here's the reason, because it actually is expecting, it's expecting a string, not a number. So of course it's kind of suspicious when you have a password, or actually even a username for an email that has straight numbers. It's a bit fishy with a PH. So what you want to do is that you want to probably encase that in an if error statement. So basically something like that. And then if anything comes after that, then you say invalid username or password. Close that out, and there you go. Whenever you're doing any kind of error checking or error handling, it's a good idea to make it a little bit more understandable, if you would please, just so it avoids a lot of confusion. But if you're going to be doing some basic checking on whether the information that the person is giving in fulfills certain parameters, then go ahead and wrap that into an if error statement or any kind of error function, like is NA, is error, or something like that. and then make sure that you tell them, okay, the number, whatever you put in is not invalid, try it again, or is not valid, try it again. So that's something that we want to practice. I think it's good practice to have that kind of error handling. Now, with regards to this one where we have, we want to take a look at the asterisk. The whole point here is to actually just extract their company name. And actually just go back to this particular one. I will discuss more ways to kind of be more restrictive, how we can actually create functions that are more complex but are more powerful, that would help in a scenario like this later on. But going back to this one, we have a reg extract. We want to take out the company name. You can imagine that if you have like a bunch of different emails, if you're doing some kind of data entry and it gets kind of hectic and you have like 1,000, 2,000 emails that you have to work with, and you want to see, okay, which one of these are company emails. You're not going to go through and pick out which ones are Gmail or Yahoo or whatever, but you want to have a better way to do that. So what you want to do is you can come up with a reg extract to take out the other half, what's after the ampersand, automatically. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this comes up with, and of course it comes up with mycompany.com. Now, of course, one thing about regular expressions, they work great with other functions. So what you can do is that if it's something like, if you have, if what I'm coming up with is either Gmail or Yahoo.net, then you can take this action. But at least you'll have this information, and then you'll have a small pool of emails that you don't want just to actually be a part of your cleaned data. And you can say, okay, extract with a regular expression the other part of this data, the other part of the email. Then on top of that, anything that has a Gmail, a Hotmail, whatever it is, is the free email service, we do away with those, and then just give me a much cleaner list that I can work with, right? So if you can definitely play around with this and encase it in other functions, just to make it a little bit cleaner or a little bit just more understandable, whatever it is. But again, regular expressions are so powerful that they can really replace a good chunk of the formula of the functions that you regularly use, and you can probably do what you would probably take, a couple of lines or a couple of functions, you can probably just do it in one. They're really that great. All right, so let's go back to this. Now I'm going to go take a look at this date formula. If you want somebody to actually put in their date in a certain way, I know in the United States it's month, day, year, and in certain countries, particularly those maybe like Britain, it's day, month, year. So what you can do is you can go ahead, and this is something very simple. It won't really be that deep yet, but it's very simple, where you just basically make sure that the format that they put the information in is at least okay. So in this case, we're just going to basically look at /d. /d again means that you're looking for numbers. And this notation here means 1 or 2. Basically, you're looking for 1 or 2 for the first set, 1 or 2 for the second set, and then 4 for the third. So that lines up with the notation that most of us are used to. So let's go ahead and see how that works out. Regex match should come out to be true. Yes. All right. So of course, whenever you're doing anything with regards to this kind of date, we have a tendency sometimes to abbreviate. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we abbreviate. Of course, it comes out to be false because we're not dealing with that parameter of 4 digits or 4 characters for the year, as we specified here. Of course, there's a more complex formula to make sure that we adhere to that, either MMDD or DDMM, depending on what region you're in, but we'll discuss that another day. So just to recap, plus, remember, plus means 1 or more, question mark means 0 or 1, and then asterisk means 0 or more characters. Again, once you get those concepts understood, it's a little bit easier. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.